So, as you can see by the little sign behind my head, Rowdy is technically officially for sale, though I have not been trying very hard for some reasons that I will get into in a moment. Let's drive around and talk about Rowdy for a few minutes. The key fob needs the battery changed, so I'm going to put it in the little dashboard genitals here. Get your mind out of the gutter, but that's what it always suspiciously looked like. Anyways, the engineers knew what they're doing. Those Germans do have a sense of humor, and here's proof. So, a little bit of details and specs about Rowdy. Rowdy is a 2010 Audi S5. That means she is one of the last of her breed. She has a 4.2 naturally aspirated V8, and what makes her ever more increasingly rare is this beautiful 6-speed manual transmission. There's the key fob battery warning again. Let's give her a little rip and see if my 360 cam can pick up the audio of her exhaust. So nice. She's a 2010, and right now it's 2023, and she still pulls so hard. So hard. From the factory, she had 354 horsepower, naturally aspirated ponies. This 4.2 V8 is the same V8 that is in the Audi R8. Now, in the Audi R8, I think it produces something like 420, 450 horsepower. In this setup, she is detuned a little bit. The engine is detuned a little bit to around 354 or so, but it is the same glorious, world famous, one of the best engines of all time, just completely unbiased here. You ask any automotive journalist, anybody in this kind of car enthusiast sphere, the 4.2 Audi V8 is one of the best engines ever created by mankind, period. It's not the most perfect engine. She has her little quirks, and each kind of setup is different. For instance, at a certain year, they changed over from the timing belt to a timing chain, or timing chain to a timing belt. Either way, this has the better option in it. I knew the timing chain in Volkswagen and Audi engines could be a bit of a bear, a bit of a pickle, and they're super hard to get to and super expensive to replace. This doesn't have that situation. It's the upgraded, improved situation. I have had almost no issues with this engine, and I've owned her since 2013. I've had Rowdy for over 10 years at this point, or almost 10 years at this point. Like I said, she's a 2010, but I bought her used in 2013. I think she had like 36,000 miles on her or something like that. All right, stupid, I understand. Oh, there's confusion behind me at that intersection because people aren't using their turn signals. Wow, if only there was an invention that would activate those turn signals and avoid the confusion at intersections. Craziness. Anyways, what was I saying? I've not had really any problems with the engine. I think when I first bought her, I needed some new coil packs, like a couple new coil packs. I noticed that she was, didn't seem like she had all the power, especially under load. This was like in 2013 when 14 or 15, a couple years after. A couple of coil packs on the engine there, and that fixed that up. I had what did I have replaced? I've had a couple little things here and there. Overall, over the years, she has not been very expensive for me to maintain, just normal oil changes. I had the starter replaced. This replacement of a starter in this car, luckily I've already had it done, can be a bit of a bear. There's two ways to do it. There's one like really proper way to do it, which is basically an engine out procedure. You have to take apart the whole subframe and everything. And then there's another way where you just kind of basically get access to it and have it done. Either way, the mechanic did it. It's perfect. Starter's perfect. I had the ECU or ECM, whatever you want to call it, replaced. So the computer's brand new in here. I had that done recently. One of the side effects, yes, I will change the battery in my key fob. One of the side effects of changing your ECM or ECU, the main brains of the vehicle, is that some of the other brains of the vehicle, modules of the vehicle, might need to be reprogrammed or replaced. So currently, one of those modules, the only module that I know of that needs to be replaced or reprogrammed is the driver's seat memory module. Right now it is stuck to my position, and if I'm going to be selling this car, I can't isolate it to other buyers who are 6'1" and had the exact same length of legs and exact same length of torso, and it had like to have their seat at just my personal favorite reclining. So it's going to the shop to get those things done. Let's talk about kind of why I'm bringing it to the shop in preparation for sale, as I still kind of just cruise around my neighborhood here. So what I'm going to have addressed at the shop is either get the driver's seat module reprogrammed or replaced. It's not a very expensive part, even if it does need to be replaced. Get that done so people can adjust it to their individual preferences. Also, I'm going to have the control arm bushings replaced. They are in need of it. They've been in need of it for a few years. I don't drive this car very much, so I haven't really got around to it or needed to do it. But if I'm going to sell it, I want to replace the control arm bushings. The ride is perfectly nice to me. It still feels just as firm as it did, when I got it. But after you've been driving it for a while, like on a road trip, I remember last time I drove like to Austin, from Houston to Austin or back and forth. There was a bit of squeaking coming from the control arms. So yeah, once it gets kind of worn in and used a bit, they start squeaking. So I need to replace the control arm bushings. So control arm bushings, driver seat memory module, and the center console trim, which I have right here. A few years ago, I replaced all the trim in this vehicle to brushed aluminum to match my brushed stainless steel DeLorean. Also because the carbon fiber had an epoxy coating. And here in Houston, Texas, it is quite frequently over 100 degrees with maximum amounts of humidity. Epoxy on top of carbon fiber, doesn't really do that great. So it had started to warp, especially on the center console here. So I said, you know what, I'm just gonna replace all the trim with brushed aluminum. I think carbon fiber looks cool, but I think brushed aluminum looks really good in this car. And like I said, it matches the handles, it matches my DeLorean, it matches this Quattro badge. It works in this car. So I salvaged some brushed stainless steel, brushed aluminum, and put it in this car. So those are the main things getting fixed. The front end hangs a bit. I curbed it on a parking brick. I kind of ripped it a little bit. Some of the clips are broken, so the front end, driver side, kind of doesn't look factory fresh. So I might have that kind of looked at. If I don't, that'll reflect in the price, of course. I think a new front end, like a completely new bumper, is like $1,200. I have to double check that. Let's talk about the driving experience right now. Rowdy has 140, as I'm driving it right now, 145,097 miles. So let's just call it 145,100 miles on it. Still drives like a complete peach. The clutch is strong. She does not slip at all. She pulls hard. It's hard for me to imagine, I know from the factory she had 354 horsepower or thereabouts. She still feels, at least to me, like she has every bit of that power. 0 to 60 from the factory is supposed to be around 5 seconds, below 6 seconds, like 5.5 seconds, 5 seconds, depending on how good you are with the launch. And it still feels every bit of that. I don't have a timer on me to actually time the 360, but she pulls so hard. Anybody who drives this car will be pressed to determine if she still has all 354 horsepower or not. I know that as these engines get a little older, and I can hear a lot of, if you're watching this and you know Audi S5s or you know the 4.2 V8, Audi V8, that at a certain point, I think some people do it very much earlier than 100,000 miles, but the walnut blasting the cylinders, basically you're decarbonizing the engine, the carbon buildup. I have not noticed that to be an issue in this vehicle, that it needs walnut blasting, which is kind of like sand blasting, but with walnuts, because it's a lot safer for the engine. I have not had that done, but it just does not feel like it needs to be done. Again, to me, it feels like it still has every bit of 354 horsepower. She idles gorgeously. She pulls gorgeously. There's no hiccups or stutters or anything like that under full power. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm in a neighborhood, but next time I get out to the street, I'll do another second gear pull. I actually don't know where I am right now. That beep is always just the key fob battery. I need to replace the battery. I don't know exactly where I am right now in my neighborhood. I'm just kind of cruising around while I talk about Rowdy. So I'll bring up this. Recently, you may or may not have seen that Doug DeMuro did a quirks and features review of Hoovies. I think it's a 2009 Audi S5. Exactly the same as this one. The colors are different, interior is a little bit different, but it is the 4.2 naturally aspirated V8. It has the 6-speed manual transmission, and I think Hoovies had the Prestige package too, which has the Drive Select feature. This setup with the Drive Select 6-speed manual transmission, and that, of course, that 4.2 V8, this setup of Audi S5 is way, way, way more rare in the United States than my 1983 DeLorean. This is one of the reasons why this is the last of a dying breed is, like I mentioned, it's the 4.2 naturally aspirated V8 and a 6-speed manual transmission. Even way back when I went to pick up the car and I was interested in it, the dealer, the salesman, is like, you're honestly like the first person in months to even inquire about this car. I was like, well, I figured people don't want the manual transmission. Like, yeah, the clientele at an Audi dealership, at a luxury car dealership, is not 30-somethings. It's really not. I mean, there are some for sure, but you're not going to find many well-heeled 60-year-old men who have some money, who are looking for a luxury vehicle that want a manual transmission. That's just not the clientele. The clientele don't want a manual transmission in a luxury vehicle. Mostly, they don't. So he's like, yeah, you're the first person in months to even ask about the car. I'm surprised you're here even asking about it. Nobody wants the manual transmission. I'm like, that's insanity to me, because that's what to get in a car like this. This is the type of car that you get with a manual transmission. This is what enthusiasts want, and there's not a ton of enthusiasts coming in to buy luxury Audis with a manual transmission. At least this is what the salesman was saying. Like I said, obviously there are people out there that want that setup, but not in Houston, I guess. So the price was very reasonable. I was able to negotiate on the price a bit. Again, I bought it used. I did not buy it brand new. It was way less than $40,000 when I bought it in 2013. So that's the story of how I bought it. The rarity of this setup. It's just such a peach of a car. Like I said, it's for sale technically, but I'm not really trying hard to sell it, because every time I think, oh yeah, I need to really try hard to sell, I need to actually get this out of my driveway. I don't drive it very much, but every time I get back in it, it's just so good. I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I don't sell it, because it's fantastic. And how many opportunities am I going to have in my life, or anybody watching this in your life, to have a naturally aspirated 4.2 V8 from Germany? It's a dying breed. It's just not going to happen much anymore. I'm doing this left turn way wrong. At least I'm using my turn signal. It's just not going to happen. A naturally aspirated V8 from Germany, 6-speed manual transmission, luxury coupe. It's not. It's rare. Yes, I know that perhaps you can get some from BMW or whatever, but it's just going to be increasingly rare. That's my point, is it's not going to be non-existent. It's just going to be increasingly rare. So I know that I'm lucky that this might be the last time in my life that I have a naturally aspirated V8 with a manual transmission, at least from Germany. I think you can still get Mustangs and Camaros and whatnot with a manual transmission. You can't get a Corvette with a manual transmission, a C8 Corvette, which is the travesty of the automotive world. How is a C8 Corvette just an awesome vehicle? How come they don't offer it with a manual transmission? What an absolute shame. I know that the dual clutch transmission, is it a dual clutch in the C8? I don't know. I know that it's just a piece of transmission. I have driven in a C8 Corvette back when they came out. Just an awesome, awesome car. I want one. If I had infinite money and garage space, I would get one in a friggin' heartbeat. They're beautiful. But I might, if it had a manual transmission, gosh, it's such a shame. And I know a lot of you might even comment on this in the comments below that, yeah, the C8 Corvette should have a manual transmission option, but it doesn't. At least not currently. I don't know if it ever will. Just adding to my point that having a V8, naturally aspirated V8 luxury coupe is just, it's a dying breed. It's a dying breed. And that's one reason why I've hesitated so much to sell it, or I have not tried very hard to sell it. I know this video might be getting a little long depending on how I edit it. I might just leave it long and leave my ramblings in here and kind of treat it kind of like a podcast, if you will. I hope you're enjoying kind of footage of me driving around and talking about the car. But I had that for sale sign in it, and I have not put it online for sale ever. I don't think I've put it online for sale. All I've done is put this little teeny tiny for sale sign in the back window, because that's about as much effort as I wanted to put into selling her. It's because every time I get in it, I'm just like, she's so good. She's such a good car. Why would I even dream of selling it? I remember why I don't want to sell it, because she drives so well. I'm going to put it into dynamic mode and turn all the slip control off, which means you hold it down to turn off both anti-slip settings. And I'm going to see if I can do a pull here. Now, when you put it into dynamic and you take off all the anti-slip features, she becomes a different vehicle. Everything tightens up. The driving tightens up. It gets more stiff, which is a good thing. The driving feel, I think the steering feel improves. When you go that route, what's going on with this intersection? I guess we're not treating it as a stop for our direction. All right, so let me put it in second gear, get her up to about 4,000 RPMs here, 35 miles an hour, and I'm just gonna do a rip and hope the camera doesn't fall off the back. Let's do it. Gosh, she's so good. Now, my daily drivers, I'm gonna cruise through this part of the neighborhood. My daily drivers are now EV. So my hauler, I've got the 2018 Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid. Excellent vehicle. Runs on battery, pure EV, no gas for up to like 33 miles. It's awesome. We handle all our daily activities, daily commute, everything with my son back and forth from school, my wife back and forth from work. 30 miles of range, easy. We hardly ever put gas in here. I think my lifetime average MPG in that minivan is over 80. It definitely is. Last I checked, it was 83 miles per gallon, doing it by the calculator. Because I think I did, it's like a 15-gallon tank, and at the time I did the math, I had like 1,200 miles on it between filling up the tank. So what is 15 gallons, or what is 1,200 miles divided by 15 gallons? Something like that. That's what I'm getting in that Chrysler Pacifica EV. My current daddy commuter, my daddy daily driver, is a 2017 Chevy Bolt with a B. That's pure EV. 0 to 60 like 6 seconds. It's not a looker. It's a car design that I hate. The kind of what do you call it? A crossover. I hate that the roads are filled with endless SUVs and crossovers. Especially crossovers are just the bane of any automotive enthusiast's existence. They're so boring and stupid. And the Bolt is that design. It's a crossover. They call it a hatchback. It's technically, when you put into the details for it, it's listed as a hatchback, but really it's designed as a crossover. Hatchback to me is a GTI, which one of my favorite cars I've ever owned was a 2002 GTI. Manual transmission, of course. Anyways, so I have daily drivers as EVs. And EVs have infinite torque, and they pull hard. They pull really hard. This pulls EV hard. When you're in second gear going 35 and at 4,000 RPM and then you floor it, it pulls EV hard. Actually, it's faster than EV. I think this guy's pulling over to let me around. Thank you, sir. I live in a golf course community. It's a city golf course. It's not like a highfalutin private golf course. I ain't rolling like that. But yeah, so you'll see golf maintenance vehicles, golf carts driving around. Anyway, so I'm fully invested in the EV future as far as the daily drivers are concerned. But this pulls as hard as an EV, at least when you're in second gear and all revved up, ready to go. in the torque is there. Right when you're in the torque band and you floor it, it pulls harder than any EV I've driven. That's not true. Tesla Model 3 dual motor performance ludicrous mode like is insane. But anyways, it pulls so hard. Again, to say that that's 354 horsepowers, I believe it feels to me like they're all there. So to kind of wrap this up, because I'm about to pull down my street. As of now, as I'm recording right now, my bedroom research, I don't know if I already mentioned it in this video, my bedroom research has been on the 2015 BMW i8, which has something like 15 miles of, 15 or 30 miles of EV only range. So there's the daily commute handled in my case. And then it has a 250 horsepower, 240 something horsepower, maybe it's 230. Yeah, 230 something horsepower, 3-cylinder turbo. Paired together, it's about the same horsepower as this. It's like 357 horsepower in the BMW i8 versus 354 in this one. But you're hardly getting gas. I'd hardly be ever getting gas. And the main thing is the i8 is kind of like one of the best kept secrets among car enthusiasts right now because they have depreciated insanely. When they first came out, 2015, whatever, you'd get one as low as like 150,000 miles or $150,000 brand new. Now you can get them all day long under $50,000. I think the average is between like $45,000 and $55,000 for an i8. So that's what I'm looking at right now, like possibly trading in the Bolt and Rowdy towards an i8, and that's my daily, and I don't drive very much. That's the other thing is my current work schedule is hybrid. I don't have to go into the office, so to speak, very often. So it all works out for me. So if we did that, if I got rid of this Bolt, which I'm pulling up on right now, you probably can't see it the way I have the camera positioned, but maybe you can. Get rid of the Bolt, get rid of Audi, get the i8. So then in my driveway, I would have the 2018 Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid. I'd have the BMW i8 plug-in hybrid, and then I have the DeLorean. So I'd always have an ICE vehicle. I'd always have something that burns dinosaurs with a manual transmission. And that's another reason why I'm okay with going to like an i8 or something that's automatic, is because I always have my manual. DeLorean is not going anywhere. It is not for sale. I don't foresee it ever being for sale. I've had it for over 20 years. It's a family member at this point. But I always have, if I need to burn some dinosaurs and row through gears, I always have the DeLorean as that option. That's another reason why I kind of am more and more comfortable with selling Rowdy, is because as good as she is, naturally aspirated V8, 3 pedals as God intended, 6 gears, 6 forward gears at least, I always had the DeLorean. And the restoration of the DeLorean, I'm going to put a little bit more power into it to make it about where it should have been. It'll be a little bit more peppy. The V8, the i8's going to be fast too. Like the i8 does 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. It's like 4.5 seconds 0 to 60 in the i8. But anyways, I think it's time to let Rowdy, the Audi S5, go. Put the new trim on here. Get the bushings on the control arms replaced. What was the other thing? Just a few little here odds and ends. Get the driver's seat module fixed so that people can change the position in the driver's seat. But that's really it. Probably leave the rest alone. The roof kind of sags a little bit back here, but it's not that bad. There's no rips. It just doesn't look too bad. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at with Rowdy. Hope you enjoy sitting with me. Again, I'm highly debating leaving this super long form like a podcast or editing it down to a few minutes, but I might just leave it. Y'all can fast forward. Y'all can scrub. If this gets 2 views, fine. If it gets 2 million views, great. But I don't upload these things to get rich. I don't upload these things to get famous. I don't upload these things to sell you a bunch of stuff or get ads or sponsors. If that ever happened, I mean, sure, I'd have that conversation, but like that's not the reason I upload to YouTube. It's just basically I think something's interesting. I think something's fun. I like talking about something. I'm a broadcaster and a podcaster, so I talk, obviously. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. That's fine. I hope you just enjoyed riding along with me. So that's it from Rowdy the Audi. Hope you had fun. If you want to comment, like, subscribe, it's up to you. You don't have to, obviously. But yeah, if I ever get that i8, I'll do another video about that. Anyways, talk to y'all later. Peace out.